China is the most populated country in the world, with a whopping 1.4 billion people. This number has been rising over the past 50 years, and in 1979, the Chinese State Council launched the one-child policy to attempt to reduce the overall population size and eradicate poverty. The success of the policy is apparent, with the fertility rate dropping from 5.91 in 1966 to 1.55 in 2012. The effects of the policy has been astronomical. Much of this is due to the rules and benefits of those who observe the policy. The policy itself does not strictly state that a couple can only have one child. In fact, there are several exceptions, even though they are a bit complicated. A few of the exceptions are that if the couple themselves are only children, they may be allowed to have a second child. If their first child is born with birth defects or major health problems, they may be allowed to have a second child. If they live in a rural area and their first child is a girl, they may be allowed to have a second child. The benefits of families who abide by the policy is that they are rewarded with higher wages, better schooling, better employment, and preferential treatment in loans. In contrast, though, there are many sanctions in place for families that violate the policy, such as fines, employment termination, and difficulty in obtaining governmental assistance. So since the one-child family policy began, the total birth rate and preferred family size have decreased, but there is a terrible imbalance in the sex ratio. For example, the sex ratio at birth is more imbalanced than the global average, with 113 boys to every 100 girls. I believe it was possible for lawmakers to put this policy in place using the ethical rationale of consequentialism and utilitarianism. What I mean by that is that because of the rising population, lawmakers decided that in order to avoid a total economic downfall within China, they had to create a way to decrease family sizes for the overall greater good of the Chinese population. This produces an ethical dilemma. With the forced restriction on family sizes and the pressure to adhere by the policy in order to continue to receive the government benefits, many women are faced with the heartache of forced abortions and the violation of their basic human rights. In 1968, the International Conference on Human Rights stated that parents have the right to determine responsibly and freely the spacing and the number of children. The social impact has been examined for years. Many parents believe that because of the one-child policy, children will be raised as less tolerant, less caring for others, and ineffective communicators. As someone who practices contextualism, meaning I personally believe in ethically judging situations based on the context in which they are taking place, I feel torn when I analyze the one-child policy. On one hand, the benefits are clear. Reduce family size, reduce waste, and decrease pollution, eradicate poverty, and increase the collective identity of all Chinese citizens. What I mean by that is that the policy gives the impression that every family has a duty and a role to play within their communities. By abiding by the policy laws, they are helping to accomplish a greater goal: economic stimulation. On the other hand, it directly goes against my belief that every person has a right to decide how they would like to use their own bodies, especially women. There is a loss of autonomy at play here, and that cannot be ignored. By losing the freedom to choose whether or not you would like to add another child to your family, there is a sense of constriction. I suppose that logically I support the policy, but I do hope that over time, as the birth rate continues to fall each year, China reconsiders abolishing the policy, or at the very least amending some of its harsher rules and regulations nationwide.